Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about The Braxtons, Season 1, Episode 4.
Thank you to everybody who subscribed. Keep on subscribing, keep on liking, keep on commenting. I like discussing this show. A lot happened this episode, and I really want to talk about it. Blair, can you walk us through this episode? You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Let's go.
So, Trina, her husband Vaughn, Towanda, and her boyfriend Sean all get to the rental in D.C.
Mm-hmm.
So they're there to check on little Kevin, and they plan on having a family dinner just to rally around, just to make sure he's okay.
Okay.
So Vaughn doesn't have his ring on, and Trina's talking about he lost it. He gives his explanation of pretty much he was at an event, he cut his hand, he took it off, and he can't find it, so he lost it.
How long? I wonder how long have him and Trina been married? Been married for a while.
Yeah, they've been married for a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Toni ends up calling Trina, and Trina is looking forward to just lay eyes on little Kevin to see how he's really doing. Because somebody can say how they're doing over the phone, but to actually see them is another thing.
Yeah.
So Toni asks, do you think that y'all should probably talk to his dad? And Trina's like, nope, not doing it. Toni is willing to talk to him, but she would rather they do it as a family. She doesn't want to just kind of go off on her own and do it.
Yeah.
So after Tracy's passing, the family against Big Kevin kind of got into altercation.
Mm-hmm.
Tracy didn't want to have a funeral, and she also put that in her will.
Mm-hmm.
But Kevin had a funeral for her anyway.
Yeah.
Now, little Kevin is estranged from his father. Trina says that he chose what he wanted personally rather than respecting Tracy's wishes.
Mm-hmm.
So, she's willing to discuss as a family if they should talk to Big Kevin, but at this point, she's not feeling like speaking to him at all.
What are your thoughts on that?
How do I say it?
Say it raw.
Okay.
Say it cooked.
My thing is that Kevin was there for Tracy when Tracy was at it with her sisters, and he always had his wife's back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kevin going off and doing what he would prefer to do instead of respecting Tracy's wishes, I could understand maybe he felt like he needed a funeral to kind of like tie that up for himself.
Maybe.
But at the same time, I can understand the sisters being like, he didn't respect her wishes. We don't respect him for that.
Okay.
So, I don't think that they should feel like they need to talk to him. It would be nice because, he was their brother-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be nice for them to be able to communicate with them and at least try to hash things out.
Mm-hmm.
But the venom and the anger towards him,
Come on.
I don't really understand the strong stance about it. I was talking to Chris, my husband here, saying like, well, the only thing I can think of is when Tracy and Kevin were at it with the sisters, maybe they could forgive Tracy because she had cancer. That was their sister.
Mm-hmm.
So they were able to kind of get over any issues they had.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe they were still harboring like those feelings towards Kevin.
Yeah.
But it just seems like they should be able to come together. If they can come together after all the things that they've been through, I don't see why they can't talk to him unless there's something we're missing.
Yeah.
So.
I did a lot of research looking into the whole Tracy and Kevin relationship, trying to find like were they broken up at any time, were they estranged? They wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Been married for 25 years. They've been open about the challenges that they've been through. I think at one point they went on a show called Marriage Boot Camp or something like that. So they've been open. They've been together. He was with her during her last days as Trina was and things like that. So I'm trying to see what picture or why is this picture that they painting of him is like this? Because Kevin is, or put it like this, little Kevin is your nephew. Right? That's his son. Right? His only son at that. So this whole idea of Toni saying that, hey, do you think we should talk to Kevin, the father? So he can so he can know what's going on with his son, or just keep him in the loop of what's going on with his family. You get what I'm saying? And for Trina to be like, no, and to be confident, that is a collaborative decision on everybody's what's the word, agenda in this episode. Even when we go to the end where they talk about, they want a scene with Big Kevin, Little Kevin, and Towanda want to call producers out to make it seem like, oh no, we will not have Big Kevin on the show. As I was looking through the internet trying to find reasons of why they feel this way, of course, like Blair stated about Tracy didn't want a funeral, right? Kevin is basically saying that's not true. He said, I was with her every day, and even on her last days and things of that nature, she's talked about how she wanted a funeral, right? I understand if somebody, you should always honor the wishes of the ones that's passing away and things like that. 100%. It came down to the funeral, and there was allegedly that they didn't let Mr. Braxton in, right? That they turned him away and stuff like that. And Kevin, the senior, saying that's not true. He came through with somebody else, I forgot who, and they paid their respects and they left. So there's two people who's telling two different stories altogether, and the truth is somewhere
in the middle,
somewhere there. Now, Trina, the whole idea of respecting wishes, didn't Tracy have a wish that y'all get along and be sisters? Are y'all respecting that wish? Y'all not. So don't try to get all high and mighty with somebody else and try to use this situation to defend your sister when she's dead. When she was alive, y'all didn't get along. When she been dead for 2 years from like the time this was filmed, y'all still don't get along. So that's why I'm trying to be patient and trying to see what they trying to paint about Big Kevin and things like that. As we know, Toni is not there because of health things. She just flew back from Atlanta, so it makes sense of why she's not in the DMV to go see little Kevin.
Yeah.
You know?
So they all get to the racetrack,
Yeah.
Have a good time. Towanda, her boyfriend,
Yeah, about to say, not
and
husband.
Trina and her husband. So they all sit down to eat. Trina says that, or asks, are we going to hear any wedding bells anytime soon? Like Sean asked Daddy for her hand in marriage, and we see a clip that was back in 2020. It's 2020, probably at the time of filming 2023. So they're trying to figure out what's going on. Towanda thinks that people need to ask Sean about the proposal because she's not going to propose to herself, and she will never propose to a man. And Sean really doesn't give us any answers. He's kind of like laughing it off, joking around, stuff like that. So I mean, that's pretty much where that is.
I mean, he's fitting in right with the family. It seems like seems like he's passive aggressive. He's vague and he's not clear about his intentions. If a clip was shown in 2020 about him asking for Mr. Braxton blessing over the marriage, that was filmed in 2019 probably and showed to us in 2020. So that's probably 5 years across the line. So did you ask for the blessing for the camera? Well, obviously you did, because if that's the case, if you really wanted to marry her, y'all be married by now.
Right. Not even engaged for 4 years, which would be a long engagement.
So there's something there. But this episode is not about that. I'm sure we go touch on it, but I do find it very strange that that I think Towanda is smart in this position to where she feels what she feels, but she's like, I'm not gonna ask him to marry me and things like that. And I'm not gonna ask why. I'm not gonna propose to myself. And I think she just basically like, hey, I'm not trying to rock the boat too much. If things are going good, I'm not going to basically like, so when are you gonna marry me? Because he seemed like the type of person to just give you a one-word answer. Soon. One day. We ain't ready. You get what I'm saying? Those type of things.
So Tamar is doing a podcast recording.
Okay.
She's talking about how she's wrapping up a new album. She has these like candles, intention candles.
Yeah.
And she wants to be a good example for her son.
Okay.
So clearly all the cameras are around. So they ask her, so what's up with the cameras? Like, and you guys filming the Braxtons. We learned, or we knew back in the day, that Tamar didn't want to do anything with the Braxtons and Braxton family values. She felt like she was portrayed in a really bad way.
Okay.
And that's why she went on to like Tamar Fixed My Life, because she wanted to show her true self in the best light possible, which it did not show her in the best light at all.
Not in the least bit.
So she's saying that they're doing the show because it's important for Tracy to have her story told, and her mom asked her to join the show. So Tamar knows that she's easily triggered, and she shares that there is a therapist on set, so that way she has someone to talk to during these like trying times.
What is your thoughts on that?
I really didn't have too many thoughts on it.
Yeah.
I mean, she did it because her mom asked her to, and I guess she's, trying to be respectful of her mom and Tracy's wishes. So, I mean, I get it. I honestly also think that it probably helps that, this is another stream of income. I mean, because who doesn't want to have that? And then especially if she's in a more stable place, maybe she feels like she can like portray herself in the best light possible. But even when she talks about that, I feel like Tamar, when she talks about that, It's as if she takes no ownership in how she shows up on camera.
Mm-mm.
Like, okay, a narrative can be told, but you're giving them the film, the action to put a story together on you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Tamar does like a really bad job of like taking any ownership of her role and the way that she's depicted.
Yeah.
So
100%. The camera is not magic.
mm-hmm.
It may be magic for some people. You get what I'm saying? Apparently, I don't know how to take pictures well, so I need to learn my angles and things like that to create magic for myself. You know, but Tamar have this assumption that I'm going to show my real self on my own show, and then the whole time she just pulled her pants down and showed us her booty again.
Pretty much.
So to Blair's point, Tamar do not show accountability for the way she acts and who she is and things of that nature. But I will also say that this statement stood out to me because I'm always looking at what's the narrative of the overall show, right? Of course, they put that PSA at the end of every episode of basically we are honoring Tracy and things of that nature. And I wonder if is this their, what's the word? Everybody has this assumption, and assumption may be a strong word, but everybody's seen the past seasons of Braxton Family Values of how Tracy was basically treated in the family, right? And when I say treated, that doesn't mean that Tracy didn't hold her own now.
Yeah.
Tracy definitely bite back if she felt like you was being passive aggressive towards her, you were being sneaky. We see clips of Tracy calling Towanda a snake. We see videos of past seasons where Tamar looked like she want to fight Tracy, and Tracy basically was like, bust a move. You get what I'm saying? Like, don't like, look, Toni ain't the only big sister. I'm the second big sister over everybody. So there is a feeling of that. So I wonder, do they feel like, hey, because we have treated Tracy on camera like this, can we come together as a family and give her basically her last wishes? But her last wishes isn't so much of y'all film a season and come back together. Her last wishes is that y'all actually get along. And the fact that Tamar got to be on set with a therapist because she gets triggered, to Blair's point, a lot of it have to do with you, but some of it do not, you know. I'm like, how far apart are y'all as a family? And is this really a charade to where once they say cut, y'all really just go y'all separate ways? And I'm just like, it's just really showing like y'all really not together. You get what I'm saying?
But I think part of her last wishes was that they would do the show again.
Yeah, and I understand that, and y'all are doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
but they are missing a big piece.
But y'all missing the big part. The whole part was, hey, maybe if I can get y'all together in one room, right, that would actually grant me the big wish that I want, is that y'all get along.
Yeah.
So maybe if y'all work together and have to be around each other, because if there is no show, y'all would not be around each other.
Maybe.
And that's just what we know, and basically what the narrative that I feel like is being drawn out right here.
So everyone gets together for the big family dinner in DC. So the dad asked Sean before everybody else gets there about the proposal, and Towanda steps away so they can have this conversation.
You talking about Mr. Braxton?
Yeah, Mr. Braxton.
Okay.
So Sean says that his objective is to make sure Towanda is happy. They're in a great place, and he has a plan that he is working on.
What is your thoughts on that?
I think he's BSing.
Listen here, man. I don't want to be holier than thou, but I'm married. You know what I mean?
But my thing is, like, I feel like it's a difference when you're in your 20s and trying to kind of like get to a certain point to where you feel comfortable getting married.
Yeah.
Versus you're in your like 40s or 50s, and it's just like, why are you wasting this lady's time? like if she wants to be married and you're not the guy that's gonna do it, move aside.
Yeah.
Like, move aside. Like, she needs to be able to, you know, live her life out in the way that she wants to. I'm sure she wants to be with him, but I just don't get the whole playing around. She has her own home. She has her kids. It seems like she's stable. So I don't understand like what it is that makes him want to wait to propose to her for over like 4 years.
Yeah. With me, if I was to come off my little holier than thou throne of, you know, being a husband, don't believe a guy when he says stuff like that, because a guy is very, or at least a man rather, is very proactive. You get what I'm saying? It seems like that statement was very. It's like I ask you a direct question, you give me an indirect answer, right? You don't tell me what it is. You don't tell me exactly what y'all waiting for. So it just seems like your answer is to buy you time for the next time I see you years down the road. You be like, okay, it's like your thing together. The only problem I have with Sean in this predicament is that he asked for the blessing.
Yeah.
So it's like, why do that? Why dangle that carrot in someone's face? If it was agreed upon that y'all just be together and not be married, and you never went and asked for the blessing, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But to actually like do that, it's like, I don't know what you're waiting for.
Right.
And 4 years later, like, y'all ain't get closer to a goal. And if there is a goal that you're trying to get to, hey guy, you have to proactively help her get to that goal too, if it's on her. So that's why I'm like, whatever you are trying to achieve, you're not achieving,
Yeah. So Kevin Jr. gets there, and then a lot of their family and family friends arrive.
Yeah.
So they talk a little bit about how they're doing without Tracy being there and how they miss her.
Yeah.
Little Kevin says that he's good, but everyone, his aunties can tell that he's still grieving pretty deeply.
Of course.
So they ask, what can they do for Kevin, like as a family, to support him? And he doesn't know. He says that when he reaches out, it's an emergency.
Yeah.
And Trina's like, well, why wait until there's an emergency? Like, why not just reach out to us so that way we can be there for you?
Yeah.
And little Kevin's point was that, he goes through his ups and downs, but as a man, like, he is also trying to figure things out by himself. And if he goes to his family and his aunties all the time, like, where does that leave him at the end of everything?
That's true.
And the granddad, which is Mr. Braxton, explains that, look, we're not trying to figure it out for you. We just want you to know we're here for you, and how you feel is valid.
Yeah.
So Trina says that they want to make it known that they are here for him to lean on, even if it's not an emergency.
Okay.
So in Tracy's will, she put a lot of things in place for little Kevin to handle her arrangements. Big Kevin thinks that she wasn't in her right mind when she was making these decisions.
That's strange.
And Trina says, what your mom decided, she left to you, and she made it very clear. She didn't put anyone else in charge of anything, not the siblings, not the Mrs. Evelyn or Mr. Braxton, like nobody. It was all to little Kevin.
Yeah.
And his father has him feeling like it's his fault that he's been put into his place, or that his mother has made these decisions.
Yeah.
And, he's missing his mom.
Hey, scroll back up to where they asked him how he's doing, and that they can tell he's grieving deeply. What is your thoughts on this scene right here? Because I'm gonna take us on a trip.
Well, you go first.
I don't want to. I feel like my answer is going to influence.
I don't have too many thoughts about it. I mean, my thing is like this is how he's feeling. This is how he's going through it. I think it would be nice if he could lean on his family.
Yeah.
And they're offering that support to him. So it would be great, even if it wasn't that type of relationship before, and the Tracy and her sisters were going at it, so maybe he wasn't close with his aunties because of the relationship the sisters had.
Yeah.
But by them coming up there to check on him, to call him, and to make sure he's good, and making sure that the family attorney is on top of whatever legal issues he's having, I'm thinking that even if it wasn't that way before, maybe this is a good step for him to build a closer bond with his family, and even the family that lives in the DC area, so that way he doesn't have to feel so alone going through everything.
Yeah.
So.
I'm gonna ask a couple questions of y'all, and I'm gonna take us on a trip. Right, out of all the aunties, who do Kevin talk to the most about his situation?
Seem like Towanda.
Keep that in mind, right? They asked him, how are you doing? And he said he's good, right? His mama just died. He's not good. You get what I'm saying? He's good in the sense of like, I'm able to function today. But when someone asks you, how are you doing? Basically, when it have to do with the whole grieving process, they talk about overall.
Yeah.
Right? He answered for today. You get what I'm saying? But you do what the environment calls for. So if he's close with Towanda, or to the point where his point of contact is Towanda, right? Let's look at Towanda's history in these past episodes. When Trina bared her soul of how she was doing, did Towanda bare her soul?
No.
What does Towanda do? She intellectualized
her feelings.
Somebody in the comments gave me that. Thank you for that again, right? So you can't ask me to bare my soul how I'm doing when nobody here is bearing their soul how they doing.
Okay.
It's not a safe space. You get what I'm saying? So I understand if Trina was there and they was having that one-on-one, because Trina's the only one that bared her soul. Trina's the only one that's doing the work and things of that nature, going to see spirit to basically untangle the web of her emotions and things like that. But you can't just put out how are you doing and I don't know how you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's really a call and response. It's really like a like we leaning on each other. So that's why his response, in my opinion, is basically like, hey, look, I'm only gonna call y'all for emergencies, like if I'm in jail. You get what I'm saying? But when it comes to the everyday how I'm dealing with my emotions, I don't know how y'all doing. You get what I'm saying? I don't feel like there's enough people bearing their soul to where I know how y'all doing. Y'all just checking up on me because I feel like y'all have to do that because y'all my aunties and things like that. But when it comes to grieving and when it comes to those deep emotions, right, the only way for you to really bury your soul of how you doing, somebody got to be open to that. And I don't know if this family, it haven't shown so far, have been open with their emotions with how they're doing. That's why 2 years after the fact, they go into grief counseling. Some of them didn't even want to go. So I don't know if the environment of the family or even the culture of the family is for them to really express and come together and be like, this is how I'm feeling. This is how, because if that was the case, he would be part of that culture and he will be opening himself because this is what we do as a family. When we go through stuff, we go through it as a family. And not just talk about emergencies, just talk about things in life. So that's why I'm like, I find it very hard for them to, at least from my opinion, to be like, we're here for you outside of emergencies when there's no, what's the word? It feel like there's no unity in the family. Everybody is just like in their own corner, and maybe they can use Tracy's death as a jumping pad to basically get back to a routine, a tradition. But usually, like, once the body is cold, everybody go back to their own corners. Everybody go back to their own life. Everybody go back to their own situations, and they just kind of go back to how life is usually, Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm like, when they ask how is he doing, I'm like, y'all don't even like talk to each other. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, how y'all expect him to basically bare his soul about how he's doing, where as a family, I don't even think that's how y'all get down. Miss Evelyn and Mr. Braxton can't even be in the same room most of the time. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Granted, Mr. Braxton, you're kind of wild, but at the same time, there is no unity in the family. So to ask, hey, just for this time, because Tracy's dead, we go get, hey, when you need something, talk to us. It's like, what? But like, we don't do that. So yeah, that's all I have about that.
Okay. So Tamar goes to the gym to work out, and
stop right here. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like. I understand. Right? But if this is the Kevin's episode, right? Something as deep and something as important as Kevin, how you're doing, your mother passed away, Tamar in the gym.
I mean, I don't see why Tamar couldn't go.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's weird to me, right?
And even if she wasn't, privy to all the things and stuff that was going on, maybe if she had like prior engagements that where she had to be there, that's one thing. But if she could have moved things around to be there and to kind of show support, that would have been nice for everybody who could be there now to be there. So,
and that's why I said in the beginning of the episode, I gave Toni that out because she said, hey, I just flew. My doctor said I can't fly that soon. But Tamar, she even said, like, when she came to film the cooking show or basically be with her mom, she said, I'm here on assignment, basically. So it's like, why couldn't you be there for Kevin? We over here trying to rebuild or not even rebuild, probably building things as a family. And Tamar over here, like, having her own show on the side in a way. And I'm not trying to put the blame on Tamar, but I'm just trying to show y'all how, like, disconnected the show is while they all filming, right?
Mm-hmm. So Tamar's talking about how she's nervous to get back in the studio.
Okay.
Her assistant is telling her that she needs to jump back in. She's so good, she's so talented, and she's great at her craft. Mm-hmm. Her book is going to be a book of self-reflection, and she plans on telling her whole truth. So to me, it just sounds like a lot of promotion for Tamar this episode.
And basically, to support what you just said, she got nothing going on. Mm-hmm. Nothing going on. We showed her in the gym talking about she fat, right? And look, my book coming out, y'all. Mm-hmm. That's it. And I'm just like, sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
So little Kevin and Trina meet with the family attorney.
Okay.
And he shares that his dad didn't understand why Tracy put everything for him to be in charge of.
Okay.
And the attorney says, look, he visited Tracy before she even began to decline.
Yeah.
He was advised to record her because in his head, he thinks maybe she knew that people might try to use her illness or her mind state as a way to not honor her wishes.
Okay.
And so she was very clear that she wanted little Kevin in charge of everything, with the caveat that he was ready for it. So Tracy told little Kevin when he was little, like, if anything happened to me, like, everything would go to you.
Yeah.
She didn't want a funeral because she didn't want people looking down at her and grieving that hard. She wanted people to celebrate her life.
Facts.
So little Kevin makes a statement that he was born into this family. He didn't marry into it. And basically, this is his rightful place to carry on his mother's legacy.
Yeah. And that's why I asked the question, Like, that statement made me go, why that direct shot at your father like that? And it just leaves me questioning, what was the relationship with Tracy and her husband on her last days, or even before she got sick? And why put your child in charge of the funeral arrangements?
She didn't want a funeral.
Or just on how you want to be buried and things like that. Like, my thing is, why not leave everything to your kid as she did? But those things of what to do and what not to do, why not put your husband in charge of that? And that's kind of strange to me, because it leads me to think, and granted, if everything is in your son's name, I wonder where is the rift happen, because at the end of the day, this is not Tracy's son estranged from her husband. You get what I'm saying? This is Kevin Jr.
Yeah.
You know, even though Kevin Jr. like to say, I was born into this family, he married into it. Hey, the namesake you have is your father's name.
Right.
You know, Braxton came from Mr. Braxton. You get what I'm saying? So, like, this whole thing of basically make it seem like you're new to this, I'm true to this. Actually, your father been around the family before you was even thought of. Over 25 years, he know how they operate. So that's why I'm like, what is this narrative y'all trying to build about Kevin Sr.? But that's beside the point. We get to that later. But I do find it strange that usually when somebody die and things like that, and you have a husband or you have a wife and things like that, you don't put the responsibility of how you want to be buried or how you want the funeral, or if not you want a funeral, on the child. That's you usually give it to an adult, especially someone as close as a wife or a husband. So I found all of that strange. I don't know if it was one of those things to where, dude, I know we joke around about it on the other show. We watched the show called Family Empire Houston, and you said that if they was fussing about this, they go fuss about it when you dead. You just go put something in the will and just let them fight over it. So I'm like, I don't know if Tracy just basically just threw her hands up and said, God, take the will. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do this and whatever you and your father got to do, I'll let y'all fuss with that. But I just found the whole formality of it kind of like weird.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a lot that we don't know.
Yeah, it's
and
weird.
I think that a lot that we don't know has basically been the reason for Tracy's decisions. Like, they were saying that Tracy had her will together before she even was diagnosed with an illness. So she already knew what she wanted and how she wanted things to go to her son to be in charge of. But also, I feel like just because we see Tracy and her husband fighting against the sisters doesn't mean we know the intricate workings of their marriage. And so to me, I'm just like, there could be things within their marriage to where she felt like she didn't trust her husband to follow through on her wishes, or
I mean, that's proven correct,
and,
right?
And in a way, it was proven correct because he decided to have a funeral when she said she didn't want to have one. So I mean, it could be different things of dynamics between their relationship that although they were married, it doesn't mean that people are necessarily happily married or on the same page with their spouse, or whatever the case may be. So like I said, I just think there's a lot we don't know. And even the attorney was saying there were things that Tracy wanted him to know that she didn't want to share with her husband.
And that's strange.
So and to me, like, it might be strange, but at the same time, everyone's marriage is different. So there might be things for some people to where they don't trust their spouse with certain information. So they just write it up and give it to their attorney. So I'm just like, that might just have been just a peek into how their relationship really was.
Yeah.
So,
and my thing is, if that's the case, then that is, then if that's the case, let's say Tracy did do that. I'm not saying Tracy did that. Respect the dead. I'm not saying Tracy did that. But if Tracy did do that, she sowed seeds of discord then. Like basically this is reaping the harvest, because you can imagine like us being married and then you find out in the will when I'm gone, you get nothing.
Yeah.
That's a hard pill to swallow when you're grieving. So usually when it comes to a will and things of that nature, there's a collaborative effort of like, I'm gonna leave this to you, I'm gonna leave this with you, I'm gonna leave this with you. And I understand leaving everything to the kids. I'm not saying like, okay, like leave the property, leave things like that to the kids, but it seems like, or at least the way it's looking based on what I perceive, that nothing was left to the husband's power.
Yeah, but I also think that maybe, she didn't want to have to argue with her husband about her decision.
And I'm saying
maybe she just wanted to write it down and let it be what it is.
And I'm saying to do that and to be gone, like this is what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah, like basically like you sow seeds of this, and this is like I'm not saying it's right or
but
wrong.
Do you think there's a chance he would have been unhappy either way, whether she told him or not?
I feel like unhappy either way, but I feel like there has to be some type of transparency, especially when it comes to writing a will, and when it comes to like, you don't want to be a month after the funeral meeting in the attorney office and finding out at the moment that I get nothing.
Yeah, no, that is really shocking.
And
that is shocking.
And it puts the whole relationship in a whole different light.
Yeah, but he shouldn't be taking it out on his son that way.
And as far as I know, I feel like to Trina's point episodes ago, that they're both grieving, and they both grieving in different ways.
Right.
That's causing a rift between them. So yeah, I just think it's strange. I did read. I also wanted to mention this. I did read that he did not like how the Braxtons, outside of Tracy, depicted him as a deadbeat father.
Okay.
That's one thing that I read from his words.
Okay.
Right? The Braxtons said, of course, we didn't do that, but there's been this idea that he's a deadbeat father, and he said, no, me and my wife Tracy, like, we love our son. Even though, like, y'all always seen little Kev with Tracy and they best friends, are always joint to the hip. He said, I was never a deadbeat father, and things like that. So yeah.
So Trina, Vaughn, Sean, and Towanda all are together at the rental.
Yeah.
And Trina thinks that there's some type of like tug of war for power going on.
Okay.
Tracy made these decisions before she was even diagnosed with cancer, and Big Kevin is mad at the decisions that Tracy made.
Yeah.
So we also find out that production wanted Little Kevin to film with Big Kevin and Mr. Braxton, but Trina made it clear that they are not giving Kevin a platform.
Okay.
So Towanda yells for the producer to come into the room, and she's asking, why would y'all want him on the show? And the producer says, this show is about y'all. If y'all aren't okay with it, it won't happen. And Towanda doesn't want him to have a platform on their platform ever again, and she's pretty upset and makes it clear, like, don't play with me, like, don't push the situation.
Yeah. And that's what made me feel weird about the whole, like, what is going on with this family?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, what did he do that was so bad? Because even though we got a clip of what's gonna happen next week, she basically like, I would tell the truth of what really happened, and I'm like, please do.
Yeah.
Like,
we're lost.
like don't threaten the truth and then like basically like hide it from us. I need to know what happened to where because this is leaving a sour taste in my mouth. Right? Especially if this is a season that is dedicated to Tracy. I don't think it would be in their best interest to leave it up to interpretation about Kevin Sr.'s place in the family.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Like, I think that do a disservice to him, especially if he is innocent, and if all Kevin Sr. is going through is, I just didn't like the fact that all the power was left with my son. Trust me, as bad as that may sound, that's a small thing, and all that have to do is just bring them together for a conversation. Now, I will say this. I'm going to be 100% honest. Should the son have the power when he can't make it to his own court dates? I would say no.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? That's how you end up having a warrant for your arrest when you don't make it to court. You get what I'm saying? Does it seem like everything is going right in the son's life when it comes to his relationships and where he got things going on? No, but he's young. And that's what I'm really getting to. He's a young adult figuring out, bumping his head against the wall. And eventually you use your 20s and things like that to basically get your legs up under you. And to his point where he was saying like, yo, I don't want to call my family every time. I want to be able to stand on my own feet. And I can understand, okay, you're standing on your own feet, but why is nobody pointing him back to his father? Because his father's not dead. His father's not a deadbeat to the father's words.
Okay.
You know, so that's why I'm like, all of it is strange, and not strange. All of it is strange, and I feel like whatever they are leaving up to interpretation is doing a disservice to Kevin Sr. Say it, and don't leave it up to interpretation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's all I got.
That's all you got? Listen, I need to know what y'all think about this episode. Am I off? Hey, to all the Braxton family value veterans, pros, and all that, listen, fill me in. Because I remember watching every season until I think the last 2 seasons. I'm missing some things. Please let me know what's going on. Let me know what y'all think. Subscribe, like, share, comment. We see y'all next time.
Bye.